Do you find it odd that Mr. Franklin is, I guess, for lack of a better term, white knighting for a client that he doesn't even claim to know? Marcia, do we have our jury?
I believe we do.
All rise for the presence of the jury.
All jurors are present. Counsel stipulate the presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor. Counsel, call your next witness.
Oh, Your Honor, Mr. Doyle would like to call me.
Okay, Mr. Harris, please stand, please. Watch your step, huh?
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your first and last name for the record, please.
Kurt Harris, Harris.
Counsel, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Harris, since you've taken over equal rights for divorced fathers, has the fee structure changed?
Absolutely. I know that was a question that we heard just as we closed out the last witness, and I wanted to clarify for the jury what had happened exactly. Essentially, times had changed, and it was becoming a law firm, and things had to change. We could no longer charge these membership fees because certainly you can't really charge a membership technically to a law firm, and it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. So we had to make a big difference and a big change, and I let the paralegals know that they were going to need to charge a fair charge, but whatever was fair for them and fair for the client. So it had to be fair for how much time they were putting into the drafting so that they could make whatever it is they were entitled to, and it had to be fair to the client as well. In addition to that, we made a bunch of changes. We started doing the mailing for the client, doing their mail. And before I took over, Ernest used to have people run down the street to the post office to mail things and to come back and certified mail and things like that. We didn't need to do that anymore because attorneys are, I guess we're allowed to send things without having to certify it necessarily. And we don't get questioned quite as much by the courts when we make a representation or when we file what we call these certificates of service. And we get a little bit of leeway in that. And so the mailing fees were now kind of being absorbed by us. And we also were doing e-filing. It was never done before. I mean, we paid for the internet, brought the internet in because they didn't have the internet there. And so we got Cox Cable over there, got them hooked up, got them compatible computers, and started doing e-filing. If you don't know what e-filing is, it's just filing online. But every time you push the e-file button, you get a charge for $3.50. So it sounds like it's a small amount of money, $3.50. It just seems like no big deal. But when you're doing 100 or so filings a month, it starts to add up, you know, and it's a lot of money, and you've got to cover those costs. We also cleaned up the facilities and did some painting and dressed things up. And, you know, one of the big ones is that I have malpractice insurance that covers all those people. And so there's a certain cost that's associated with that too. And I do work for insurance companies, but I'm not a lover of them by any means, and they charge a pretty good premium. And so I was just trying.
Next question.
Mr. Harris, why can't a lawyer charge a membership fee?
Well, I mean, we really are, you know, as an attorneys, I mean, a membership fee really, we're not a club. We're open to the public. We're a firm. And we are here to serve the public, and we're here to do that public service. And we're not a club and not intended to be. And there just isn't any place for a membership fee in a law firm.
Is there an ethical restriction on membership fees?
I think ethically it's incorrect or improper. I know that there are some prepaid legal kind of circumstances that are out there. I don't know exactly how they get around that, but we don't feel that it's ethical at all to charge a membership fee.
Do you live here in Las Vegas?
I do, thank you. I've lived here in Las Vegas since 1997. I moved here from northern Nevada.
And can you explain for the jury what your educational background is?
I originally went to junior college in Torrance, California. I went to El Camino College. I got an AA there in Spanish. I do speak Spanish because I spent some time as a voluntary servant in voluntary service in South America. And after that, I graduated from Brigham Young University with a BA and a Bachelor of Political Science. I did some coursework at Utah State University, in public administration. I didn't graduate, but I ended up getting admitted to law school, and I graduated from the University of Idaho in 1994, passed the bar in 1994, and have been practicing in the state of Nevada since 1994.
Can you explain your work experience?
I started, I worked for a couple of clerks. I clerked for a judge. I clerked for one in Soda Springs, Idaho, where I went to law school, and then I later clerked for one in Fallon, Nevada. And then after that, I worked for a few firms here in town, and have worked in many different capacities, I guess, as an associate, and started my own firm first time in 2003, and that ended up being dissolved, and I started my next firm, which I'm at right now, in 2010.
Are you licensed in any other states other than Nevada?
Yeah, I'm licensed in the state of Utah. I don't want to call it an office. I have like a place there in Utah where I have a rather large client in St. George. And so I do go to Utah quite frequently and have an area there where I receive mail and I have facilities there. And, also here in Nevada, one on Fort Apache, and an office on North Mojave.
What's one of those clients that you referenced?
Well, as you heard Cam talk about Nevada corporate headquarters. Nevada corporate headquarters is it's like the largest resident agent corporation here in the state. And I'm affiliated with them. I don't actually work for them, but my office, my big fancy office on Fort Apache, is their big fancy office on Fort Apache. They have a room there for me, and I'm supposed to be there 30 hours a week to help them to manage their company. I also do some public speaking for them, and tour. I guess they have an affiliation with Fortune Builders. And before COVID, we used to go out and we gave seminars throughout the United States. I've spoken in several cities and on behalf of Nevada corporate headquarters for Fortune Builders, and so they're pretty important to me. And really, that's where my income is derived.
If you could turn to Exhibit 54, Mr. Harris. Your Honor, I believe this was an unobjective exhibit. I'm not sure if it's been admitted.
The last one. Exhibit 54, Counsel, you have that before you. It's the night playbook. Counsel, objections to 54.
Your Honor, I'm not seeing what the relevance is.
Then you have an objection to it, Counselor. I'll lay the foundation for this. What's the relevance in regards to this?
Sure, Your Honor. I would just note that they sent over a list of objective exhibits. This was not included in that.
Counsel?
Still don't know what the relevance is. It's after this lawsuit.
Okay, Counsel, this document was sent over to your office asking you whether or not you had any objections, correct? And did you wage any objections at that time period? What's that?
No.
Okay. So counsel, before we get introduced into evidence, even though they're not objecting to its authenticity, what is the relevance to this matter?
Understood, Your Honor. I believe I can lay a foundation.
We can lay a foundation.
Mr. Harris, if you can look at proposed exhibit 54, and what is this document?
Well, this is just a program from an Ignite. They call it Ignite. It's the annual meeting that Fortune Builders has here in Las Vegas. This is in 2018, right around the time that the website was published. And if you look on page 5, I was one of the speakers there at Ignite on behalf of Fortune Builders.
Okay. So it is relevant, Counselor. This gentleman's reputation is on question in this case. So his reputation is relevant. Continue, Counselor. 54 is hereby admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Harris, you said page 5.
Yes.
And if you want to explain to the jury, or if you can point the jury to where your name is shown on this.
Yeah, I was a speaker at one of the breakout sessions on day 2. There were 5 sessions that were available that day, and I spoke on protecting your net worth from lawsuits and how to avoid them. And I was trying to teach people how to learn how to protect their assets. I was invited there by Fortune Builders. They had about 150 people in that room. I don't know exactly, give or take, but I was giving them some information about trusts and using corporations and methods and manners of just good practices in trying to avoid lawsuits. And I've spoken at several other forums, but this is their big one, their annual one that they have here. They had several thousand people attend. It was at the Rio Hotel. And these people, they check online, they look for you, they look you up. They're interested in knowing more about you and knowing your qualifications and a few things. And so it's important to kind of have it's important to have a good background.
And Mr. Harris, if you turn to proposed exhibit 55 as well. And Your Honor, this was also an executive.
You basically want to admit into evidence the fact that he has a trip that was planned during this time period?
Yeah, Your Honor, I think established further speaking engagements.
Well, so it's further engagements? Okay, so Mr. Harris, what is this representing? Is this another engagement in which you spoke?
Yeah, and this is approximately, it's a little while later, actually, Your Honor. And this was just a trip to Chicago where I spoke in Chicago on behalf of Fortune Builders for Nevada Corporate Headquarters.
Okay. Any objections to 55 defense?
Again, relevance, objection.
55 is admitted over the objection. Go ahead, counsel, next.
Mr. Harris, is there any additional significance to this trip?
I just wanted to let it was all I could really dig up in my records. It was some bills from flights and the room there in Chicago. I spoke for them probably 3 times in Chicago, once in New Orleans, Baltimore. I've spoken in Atlanta, in Dallas, I think 3 times in Chicago. And it was about every quarterly I would go and speak on behalf of Fortune Builders. It's a multi-million-dollar company. They make about 150 million a year. And so they were pretty important to me and pretty important to my livelihood. And important to Nevada Corporate Headquarters that it come off well and that there be a good appearance.
And Mr. Harris, if you can turn to proposed exhibit 56. Your Honor, same offer of admission.
Defense objections?
Yes, Judge.
Continue relevance objection?
Please.
Overruled. 56 is hereby admitted.
Mr. Harris, what's the significance of exhibit 56?
This is actually this was an event that was at Phoenix. And Cam spoke with you this morning and said that he had called me on the phone when he found out about this website that had gone online. I was in Phoenix at the time. It was actually Scottsdale, but I was there and I was speaking. Actually, I was getting ready to go on stage when he tried to call me or sent me an email. I think it was both, and had let me know that I needed to check my email right away. And I was speaking there on behalf of Fortune Builders at this event in Phoenix. We've been down there for a couple of days, and when I found out about it, there at page 5, it doesn't have my name on page 5, but it just talks about the Asset Protection and Tax Planning Academy, which I was one of the hosts of. And it's been a couple of days down there just talking to them about real estate structuring and a few things, using land trust, purchase property and things like that. And that was when I found out about that this had gone online, this publication. And so just caused me to react as quickly as I could. I wasn't home at the time and I wasn't here, so I had to come back home and take care of matters as quickly as I could. But that's what was going on.
How did the purchase of equal rights for divorced fathers come to be?
Well, I've known Mr. Del Casal probably since year 2001. And I had taken referrals from the company for years, on and off. Because, you know, there were times that, that I just wasn't in the practice of family law, doing, entertaining other things. And so it was on and off, and he was always very good to me, and always very good to give me referrals. And you know, I really considered him a friend, and still do. And he approached me and indicated that he was thinking about retiring, and he wanted to start a goat farm in Pahrump or in Kingman. And I let him know, quite honestly, that I was interested, and that I would be interested in buying it if he ever thought about selling the business, with the thoughts that it was going to become part of my firm. And I know that he had other offers. I know that other people that were interested as well. But it came about that way. He told me how much he wanted, and I told him that I would accept that offer, and asked me to prepare a contract, and I put together a contract, which is Exhibit 1. I sent it over to him, and that was in 2013. And he signed the contract, and I paid the money that he requested. I paid in cash, and thought that there would be a transition period of possibly maybe 6 months while he stayed on. And my son had been working at Discount Tire, and he's an assistant manager there. He kind of wanted to get out of the heat, and I wanted to put him, maybe give him an opportunity to work with me and to expand. And I knew he had a criminal justice major, and he graduated from UNLV. And I thought it'd be a nice fit for the two of us to work together. And that was how the deal came about.
And Your Honor, one's already been admitted, correct?
Exhibit number 1's already been admitted, counsel, by stipulation. Not yet, we get 2.
I don't want to put it on the screen.
Okay, counsel, exhibit number 1, defense having the objection, or is it stipulated in the business purchase agreement?
That's been stipulated.
Okay, exhibit number 1 is hereby stipulated into evidence. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you. And Mr. Harris, this is the, let me zoom out here. This is the agreement you're referring to.
Yes, that is the agreement I drafted. It's a fairly basic business purchase agreement, and just we lawyers, when we're dealing with lay persons who are unrepresented, you kind of have to be careful not to try to take advantage of people, because
That is, there's no question as to that.
True. Staying. Sir, this is the question. Counsel, ask him a question.
Sure, Your Honor. So, Mr. Harris, the language used is not, in your opinion, full of legalese?
no, absolutely, this is a very basic contract, is what I was hoping to tell you. I tried to keep it very basic so that it was very even-handed, and so that it would be very fair to someone when you're negotiating with someone or dealing with someone who is not an attorney, because that is frowned upon. And so I try to keep it as basic as I possibly could.
And Mr. Harris, this was entered to on what date?
You know, I believe it was in, I actually approached him in 2013, and I think the contract was actually signed in March 2014.
So that's right here on page 2.
Oh, there it is, yeah, March 24th, it would have been signed on or about that day.
And the contract also includes the total purchase price?
Yeah, I put in the purchase price there of $50,000, and Ernest was very kind to me and allowed me to make payments, and I did make those payments over time.
Okay. What exactly were you purchasing when you were buying the business?
My understanding was that I'd be buying the name, the website, the business address. It was contingent upon me being able to get the lease, get that put into my name, that I'd have the phone number, and that I'd essentially have the facility. Although I didn't own the facility, it was still renting it. It was still contingent upon being able to get that lease. And that was pretty much, well, any furniture or anything that was left there in the office. I think I actually put in the accounts receivable or any other, any money that was due and owing at the time of the actual transition.
And those terms are also included in the contract, correct?
I believe everything was included in the contract that I anticipated.
page 2, right? It lists some of the things that were included.
Yeah, I tried to put a list down there on page 2 of everything that I really thought would be included in the purchase agreement.
And that includes the website and phone numbers, correct?
Yes, definitely. I wanted to make sure that I had the website and the phone number. It had been there. He'd had it for a long time, and I thought there was value in having the phone number, the website, and the name.
Once you entered into the contract, were you excited about the prospect of running the business?
I was really happy. I thought it'd be a great thing. My son was still working at Discount Tires, and he was still going to UNLV, and he was going to finish up January of 2015-ish is kind of, I think is when he was finishing up school. And I was excited about him starting to work there. He did begin to work there very quickly. I continued to pay him, and he wasn't working for Ernest. I was essentially paying him to be there, to learn, to observe and to learn, and to kind of give him on-the-job training so that he just didn't get everything thrown at him when Ernest retired.
Mr. Harris, if you could turn to proposed exhibit 23, plaintiff's proposed exhibit 23, please. You there?
Yes.
What is this document?
This was a document that was posted online in reference to equal rights for divorced fathers prior to my purchase.
Okay. And did you find this post?
Yeah, I was aware of this post, and this is a true and correct copy of the post that I found online prior to my purchase of the company.
Your Honor, I move to admit plaintiff's exhibit 23.
Well, I believe we did assert some objections to this. Is this a veterans and politics publication? Is that what 23 is?
I don't know, we haven't laid any foundation in regards to who even authored it. That's why I'm asking if you got objections, Counselor.
We did assert that. We asserted some objections.
Counselor,
I'll ask some additional questions.
see if we can lay some foundation for this document.
Mr.
For
Harris,
the authenticity.
sure. Mr. Harris, where was this document found?
This was online. It was found, I believe it was posted by a blogger who had seen the investigation by DeBecker of the company back in 2000 and I don't know exactly when, I guess I can't say that, but they had blogged about it, and this was one of the blogs that I'd read.
When did you find this online approximately?
I think I saw that online right around early 2014. But I can't say when it was actually published.
Your Honor, I would.
What's the relevance, Counselor? What's the relevance?
Well, I believe the relevance is the reputation of the business prior to the purchase.
I don't think that's coming into question, that basically there was a reputation of the business beforehand. Are you saying that this somehow is the only notation of what this company used as far as its reputation?
Not the only, Your Honor, but it's an example of, I believe the defendants are arguing that this was, this business didn't have any complaints or anything negative about it prior to the purchase of Mr. Harris.
That's with defense?
Your Honor, may I see what he's talking about, but I don't have a copy of it.
Exhibit 23, it was apparently emailed to you guys.
I would add to, Your Honor, there's reference in there in Mr. Del Casal's
This is not.
Hold on, Counselor, I'm listening to him, he's making a statement.
statements that he makes and its consistency with some of the publications that have been referenced.
Used in verbiage, Counselor? It's a long stretch. Next.
Your Honor, there's no date on this. Don't know who published it. There's no name of the publisher on this.
That was some of the concern we had. We had asserted foundation because I saw there was no author, no date. We're not sure even the relevance of this document. Just seeing some random.
I can see the relevance. The problem is the authenticity of it, who authored it, and what it's doing. Counsel, it's not coming in. Move on.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, if you could reference Exhibit 24. Your Honor, this was an unobjected,
Counsel, any objection to 24, photograph?
Only the objections, I believe, there's a headline that came with the photograph that's not included, so.
I don't have a headline, I have a photograph.
Right, but I think with the headline included with this was taken, it's from, we believe it was from the newspaper, and where they extracted it, just to include the headline, so we thought it'd be a complete picture to put the headline with, to complete the document, complete the photo.
Counsel, what I have before me is an 8.5 by 11 photograph that looks like it's blown up. It's different than what you have. So are we saying that there is a
I can approach.
approach? Right. Therefore, 24 as presented in the court document -24-001 is hereby admitted into evidence. Counsel, you may publish it to the jury.
thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Harris, who's in this photograph?
Well, Mr. Del Casal is there looking at the camera, and his wife Sheila is standing up over there with a gentleman. And really kind of one of the things I wanted to point to was that Scott was there, who testified earlier, with his back to us, near the door there. And that's where Scott used to man those skirt alerts that he talked about. That put him on point to be able to not allow women to come in.
Just, I guess, to make it real clear for the jury, Your Honor, may I approach the witness? So I can
Approach.
Mr. Harris, if you want to just circle Scott.
Okay, so the witness has in fact circled an individual identified as Scott, and only Scott. That's being published to the jury.
And Mr. Harris, is that Mr. Caterer who testified earlier?
Yeah, that's Scott Caterer, who was here earlier today.
Well, I'm gonna leave this up just in case, but, who else worked at the location?
I believe at that time, well, prior to my taking over,
Correct.
Sheila worked there, Ernest worked there, Scott, George, and Arturo. And that was immediately prior to my taking over.
And I should ask you this probably when I was talking about the contractor. Did you have any concerns about the reputation of the business prior to your offer to purchase?
Well, I had some concerns because it had sort of operated as kind of a, for those of us in the older generation, a He-Man Woman Hater Club, and I just wanted to soften the edges and tone that down as much as possible. We launched a new website, it was 702 Dads, just kind of in an effort to tone it down and to be more respectful. Still to cater to men as our clientele, but to welcome any woman that wanted to come in and actually represent women if they desired. So it was just a shift. There had just been so much negative out there about, and some words that I just couldn't repeat, that I just wanted to get away from it. I just wanted to make a move. Wanted the clientele, wanted the business location, the number of the website, just didn't want to bring that reputation in.
Some of that stuff that was out there, Mr. Harris, was that ever printed in newspaper periodicals or on newspaper websites?
Yeah, unfortunately, there were a couple of newspaper publications out there. There were some blogs, there was some other information out there that when you typed it in, you could see some things that were pretty offensive.
And television reporting?
Yeah, there had been a television report done by George Knapp here in town, and it was fairly balanced. I mean, it was, some of it kind of ended on a high note, but it did say some pretty negative things, and there were some attacks on some judges, or at least another attorney, and we really just, I just didn't want any more of that.
Mr. Harris, if you turn to proposed exhibit 36, please.
Yeah, that would be the, to identify that is the, it's essentially a transcript of that article that was done by George Knapp that talked about And it was an article that talked about the business and the organization.
You know when this was published?
I'm not exactly sure, but I think that it was around 2008, 2009, maybe it was a little later.
This was prior to the purchase of the business?
Yeah, and I knew it was out there at the time, and I well, again, it was just something I just kind of wanted to get away from.
Did you pull this copy of it?
And this is a true and correct copy of what I found online.
And where did you find it online?
I just typed in equal rights for divorced fathers and did a Google search, and this was one of those things that comes up, one of the articles, one of the links.
And was this on KLASTV.com?
Yeah, it actually was aired on our local television station here, the actual video. This printing of the transcript, that was done online.
Your Honor, move to admit Exhibit 46.
Counsel for the defendant, any objections?
Is this the photograph?
No, 36 is a reported transcript of George Knapp's investigation on August 3rd of Equal Rights for Fathers.
The concern we had is this was like 2004.
Right, it goes to his understanding, he was asked a question if he understood that there was a reputation of this place he was buying. He said yes, in
We'll
fact,
let
he,
that come in.
okay. 36 is hereby admitted by stipulation.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Mr. Harris, if you could turn to proposed Exhibit 48.
Yes, sir.
What is this document?
This is a 2013 Review Journal article about the organization, and this is a true and correct copy that is posted online with regard to equal rights for divorced fathers. It was authored by an author there at the Review Journal.
And this is, this was from the Las Vegas Review Journal's website.
Yeah, it's on the Las Vegas Review Journal website, and it is in pretty close proximity to when I started negotiating purchasing the business, and it was on my mind.
Your Honor, I move to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit 48.
Counsel for the defense, any objection to 48?
I have no objection.
48 is hereby admitted by stipulation.
Mr. Harris, this is the article.
Yeah, that's a picture of Judge Nathan. She was a judge at the time. She's no longer on the bench, but she made some statements in the article, and it was just a concern that I just didn't want to pick a fight with every single person that was out there, and was just, again, I just wanted to tone things down. I was concerned about this and really wanted to make a shift in the pattern of thought and some of the angst and anger that was perpetuated in the organization.
Did Ms. Nathan make a statement about equal rights in this article?
Yeah, she made a couple of pretty tough ones. I mean, the one that really stuck, it was that it was like a terrorist organization, essentially, is what she was saying, and I really did not care to hear that from a district judge about a business I was about to buy, so I thought I had to make some changes.
Did you look at Exhibit 49?
Exhibit 49, this is another article on the internet. It's out of, I think it's actually out of Michigan. It was kind of a rebranding of the George Knapp article that was done previously. Unfortunately, in the media world, they do a lot of rebranding, and they'll dig something up somewhere and then they'll publish it as though they were the originator of it, or at least try to get more mileage out of it. The way a lot of people do with online reviews, they repost and they repost and they repost. A review could be 10 years old, and then someone could dig it up, like Mike Franklin, and then repost it. And then the person that's reading it have no idea when in proximity.
Sheriff, wait for a question. All he asked you is whether or not you recognize this document.
Thank you.
Okay, Counsel, next question.
What's the publication?
Oh, it's called Flint, and it's a Families Link International. Was online, and this is a true and correct copy of what I found online.
And the date on that is also August 3rd.
Yeah, I believe that's right around that same time, that August 3rd of the prior article that we talked about there for this Family Link. It's got pictures there of the company and of Mr. Del Casal.
Your Honor, I move to admit 49 as well.
Defense, objections?
I have none.
49 is hereby stipulated in.
Some jury can see really quickly. That's the article.
Yeah, there's some pretty tough content in there that again was just not very flattering, and talked about some of the jokes that Ernest told that we probably shouldn't repeat, and well, we shouldn't repeat it. It wasn't the kind of thing that I wanted to be associated with.
And if you could turn to exhibit 59, please.
Yeah, we can just skip that, Carrie.
As part of the agreement, Mr. Harris, was there a certain time period where Mr. Del Casal was going to phase out of the business, or was he supposed to leave immediately? What was the agreement?
Yeah, I didn't want to be too tough, and I didn't want to push the man out. He'd been there a long time, and he deserved my respect. I was thinking 6 months. That was what I had in my mind. Maybe a year at the longest. I think I may have put in the contract up to maybe a year. It's just that when he stayed over past a year, it just became worrisome that there didn't seem to be any plan to actually exit. But yeah, in my mind, I was thinking 6 months, year maximum. I didn't never think it would be longer than that.
How long did he end up staying for?
I think it was about 18 months when I finally asked that he vacate.
Were there any issues during that time period?
You know, I was just kind of concerned that there was no forward movement about making the transition. And I got a call from Scott, and Scott said that you know, if I didn't do something pretty quick, he was going to quit. George was unhappy, and it voiced that to me. And of course, my son was just riding me about doing something. He wanted me to move things along, move matters along, and to make some changes pretty quick so that they could maybe do a little bit of business, better business than what they had been doing. And so he was very concerned that we just weren't moving forward and that things were just kind of falling apart.
Did you have any interactions with Mr. Del Casal?
I did. I actually went out to lunch with him over on Bonanza. I can't remember the name of the cafe there that we went to. And I said, and I let him know that I was kind of ready for him to exit. I tried to do it very gently because, again, he deserves my respect. And I offered to sell it back to him if he wanted it, whatever he wanted. And that was when the big watch thing come up. You know, I wanted to buy him a watch. I wanted to throw him a party. I wanted to do those things genuinely. And then at the end of that, I'm like, you know, if you want to buy it back, it's yours. You know, if you don't want to do this, don't do it. I didn't want there to be any seller's remorse, but he'd hung on, and I just wasn't sure. I didn't know what was going on, and I couldn't read his mind, and I was really making every effort I could to just try and smooth things out because he'd become very agitated, distant, and he was unhappy, I could tell, and he was angry.
And what was the result of that meeting?
Well, he told me flat out, I don't want to sell it back. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything. No, just forget it. And he got very quiet after that for like the next couple of months. And then there was just this very cold termination on December 31st, 2015. And he just left and walked out.
Did he retire at that point?
Actually, he didn't. No, Cam had let me know that he was planning to open up some child.
Hearsay, objection.
Sustained.
No, he didn't retire.
Did he go on to work somewhere else or start another business?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I heard from that pretty quickly. I saw, Cam and I had seen a post online where he had said, and this is just in February, I think it was like February 10th, we saw a post online, and he said, you know, the organization is no longer a father's rights organization. It's owned by attorney Kurt Harris, those same words again. And you can now find me at the child support helpline, same service, same this, same that. And so he made that posting about 6 weeks after he left. And so, yeah, he went and he opened up another business, which was similar to what he'd been doing.
Can you turn to exhibit 43?
Yes.
43, Counselor?
43, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what is this document?
This is a copy of his website there. Or actually, it's a Facebook page for the Family Court Helpline that he went and started up. And I just, we saw that online and just got a copy of it. This is what the business that he started up.
So it was Family Court Helpline, I believe you testified Child Support Helpline.
Yeah, I stand corrected on that. It's the Family Court Helpline. I think there might be a child support helpline, I'm not sure. Sorry about that. I don't have the best voice. But yeah, this is one of his pages, the Family Court Helpline.
Your Honor, I move to admit 43.
Fancy objection to 43? It's basically a family court help, it says on top of it, helping you help yourself, just like the Facebook page. I'll also show a copy of it.
No objection.
43 is hereby admitted.
And is this the cover page to the Facebook page?
Yeah, that's it. It's gone through a couple of changes here and there that I'm aware of, or at least that I believe. But yeah, that is pretty much what we saw at that time.
Do you recall when he announced the business?
February 10th, 2016 is when I saw the first formal announcement. Cam shot a copy of it and emailed it over to me, and I thought it was great.
And Mr. Harris, you can look at exhibit 50 as well.
What was that, Kerry?
50? 50.
Sorry, Mr. Rose. Yes. This is
What is this document?
This is actually a post on the Facebook page of the Father's Helpline, and it is a post from Mr. Del Casal regarding his retirement and announcing his new business.
And you obtained a copy of this?
Yeah, I pulled this copy off the internet. I went online and then saw it. It was in and around 2018 or so, because this is a copy that I pulled off the internet and that I printed out personally, and this is a true and correct copy of what I found on the web.
You know, I moved to admit this exhibit 50 as well.
Page 50, excuse me, exhibit 50, which consists of 001002 and 003, defense, any objection?
No.
Hereby admitted by stipulation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Harrison, what does he say in this post?
Well, just a couple of things that I wanted to point out to the jury, and that is that it says that he was the founder and director, and really that's what he referred to himself as. Those are the words that he used, and generally nobody else spoke of him that way. It says that he retired. When he actually he retired from that, I guess he left the business. I didn't know he really retired. And it's no longer a father's rights support organization. This is very similar to that other post that we had seen back in February. This one actually came out in December of 2016. He goes on to say that now it's a law office for profit. And I think the distinction he's trying to make there is that somehow he wasn't for profit, or that, I don't know that that's all that anybody thinks about. and that now that he's the former director, which he referred to himself one more time, and that he's there to help people, and essentially it's soliciting business, which again is great.
And, Mr. Harris, just in case there's any confusion, that because businesses had two different names, the phone number listed there, at the bottom of that post, can you read that out?
Yeah, that phone number was 702-609-3688. When I deposed defendant Del Casal, I asked him about that number. He said it was his wife's phone number.
And then on Exhibit 43, which we just looked at, family court help, on 43-002.
Should be the very same number,
That same number.
as it is throughout all of those postings.
If you could turn to Exhibit 52 as well. 52. And Mr. Harris, what is this document?
Again, this is another Facebook post. I believe this Facebook post was on Family Court News, which is a Facebook that's owned by Mr. Del Casal, or operated, I'm not sure exactly how he phrases it, but it's another one of those Facebook online postings. This is a true and correct copy of a post that was put on there by Mr. Del Casal.
I would move to admit this as well, Your Honor.
Any objection to 52, counsel for the defendants?
May I say, Judge? Senior. Thank you, Mr. Judge.
I have no objection to that.
Counsel? I heard one, no objection from both counsel.
No objection.
This is number,
52. 52 is hereby admitted by stipulation.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Mr. Harris, it's up there at the top is the name of the Facebook group.
Yeah, that's the name of that Facebook group, the Family Court News, which is a Facebook group, I guess, that's operated and owned by Mr. Del Casal. There's just a posting there about his new business. He had a trailer, same phone number there you can see, and he's posting that, essentially advertising. It does say there at the bottom, which I think is significant, that the new banner is on order for show Judge Linda Marquis what she's doing against fathers and veterans. And I think that's very significant with regard to this banner for Judge Marquis.
Oh, sorry. When was this posted?
I believe it was September 2016, September 20th, 2016.
Now, was there anything else that Mr. Del Casal did after he left Equal Rights?
Well, I mean, it just kind of on its way out the door. It was an odd thing, and you've heard some discussion about it. I guess he went to the business licensing there in the city of Las Vegas, in our city here, and canceled his license, the business license. And then he turned me in for running an unlicensed business. He just kind of flipped right back around and said, you know, there's an unlicensed business being operated there. And I think my son was a little confused this morning when he testified to you, because I am licensed and we're licensed attorneys. And so I don't know if the licensing gets a little mixed up, but you're supposed to have a license in the city where you operate. And the city really likes you to have licenses in multiple locations. The city, it's their opinion that you need to do that. And so we ran down and we got right on it. And I went online and I got a license as quick as I could. I just didn't realize it had been canceled and that we were not in compliance with the city of Las Vegas for a couple of days. But then you get to read about that later on the website about how we're an unlicensed business operating rogue and all these crazy stuff, when it was just a day or so from finding out because some investigator shows up at the,
Beyond the scope of the question.
Sustained.
How did you find out that he had reported you?
oh, an investigator came to the office, he came in and he essentially wanted to talk to me, he called me on the phone, we talked. I got a license immediately, online. He gave me the website, I got it done. Paid the $100 or whatever it was. And have done so every single year since.
Mr. Harrison, you can turn to exhibit 25. Yes, ma'am, 25.
Yeah, that's one of our business license for 1 year that, I don't think I could dig up the oldest one, but this was the next oldest one I could find. This is the true and correct copy of the business license from 2019 that we had for the business.
I move to admit 25.
Counsel for defendants, any objection to 25 being admitted?
I have no objection.
No objection.
25 is hereby admitted by stipulation.
You can see on there that,
Well,
Counsel, ask a question.
Yeah, Mr. Harrison, you said that testified that this is the oldest one you could find?
yeah, this is the oldest one I could find. I couldn't find the one from 2018, and I regret that. I just,
Beyond the scope question.
Overruled.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
sure that that's-
Go ahead, counsel. Allowing you to answer, go ahead and answer.
thank you. I couldn't find the 2018, so this was the oldest one that I could find. And you can see there that it's for professional services, it's a law firm. And it's
Issued, who's it issued to?
It's issued actually to Equal Rights for Divorced Fathers, which is really the trade name there. That I asked them how they wanted it, and that was how they wanted it. I gave it to them in that name rather than in my firm name.
Were there any other attempts he made at harming the business?
Well, to my knowledge, they're
I guess in that same time frame. So
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the frame of the question about a business license equating to harming the business.
I think he meant counsel have an individual turn them into the city attorney is what he was
I
talking
was going
about.
to object to speculation on that point. It's
Rephrase your question, counsel.
Mr. Harris, were there any other things that the defendant did to impact the success of the business in that same time period?
yes. And I suspect, came to work one day and there were the lock on the front door had been glued.
Speculation.
And-
Hold on, counsel, you're making an objection that his response is what?
So he's
Speculation?
not responding to the question, Judge.
He asked if he thought there was anything else that this individual may have done to harm the business. He
That's
just said,
correct.
in my opinion, this is what I believe happened.
I withdraw.
It's his opinion.
And, I don't have a video, we have cameras there now, but, it's the type of thing that Ernest would kind of say that he would harass other attorneys, told me in the past, and it just seemed to be that type of thing. It was just an annoyance. It was $550 something to have a locksmith come out and put a new lock on the door. Whether he did it or didn't do it, I don't know, but there was online postings that were going on at that time. And I was seeing him at the courthouse all the time. And I was trying to be as friendly as I possibly could, and he was also driving by the business quite a bit. And it is odd, the business is located on the corner of an alley, and it's strange that he would be driving in that alley. But there was a lot of drive-bys and things like that were going on. None of that really is malicious at all. And again, it was just of concern to me, and it was just ongoing, and it seemed to be increasing. I tried to kind of deal with it by ignoring it. That was what I thought was the best route. And that didn't really work. And tried to kind of pray it away for a while, and that didn't work either. And I tried to kill him with kindness, and that didn't work. but I did try.
Did you try to interact with him when you see him around the courthouse?
I did, I would try to talk to him at the courthouse.
How do
And-
you respond?
He wouldn't talk to me, he just ignored me, would grunt at me from time to time, but it made me feel bad. Again, I thought we were friends, I thought we'd been friendly, and so it was kind of tough. I just didn't really understand why.
Mr. Harris, if you could look at Exhibit 19. What are these?
Well, this is a post from the Family Court News, Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Ernest's Facebook Family Court News page that I talked about earlier. And this is one of the posts that he made on there.
Several posts. Actually.
Several posts, actually, yeah. One includes you.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit.
In its entirety, you want 19-001 through 016?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel to the defendant's objections?
We did assert relevance to this matter. It seems like, as Your Honor pointed out, 16 pages of random, seems like a lot of them don't pertain to, I mean, out of all those pages, there's something that doesn't pertain to the case.
Do we want to go one by one, counselors, what you're asking?
I suppose that'd be.
Okay. Let's look at 19-001. Any objection to that page, counselor?
No, I have no objection.
Okay, 19-001 is hereby stipulated in. Counsel, go ahead and ask your questions on that page only.
Well, Your Honor, if I may, I'll just sort of direct the witness to the individual pages that we can just admit them that way instead of.
Are there certain portions you're saying you don't want to admit?
Well, I don't want to spend the time if we drop the question. I think it'd just be faster.
Okay. The way you want to do it?
Mr. Harris, if you could direct the jury, direct us to the first post that.
On 19-001, which has already been stipulated in, there's a couple of things on that post that,
Can I publish this?
Right, already admitted.
a couple of things there that did kind of trouble me. Again, I hate to get caught up in the nonsense of attorney speak, but when we go to court, we get minutes of a proceeding, and the minutes are just kind of a summary of what happened when we were in court that day. On the title page of this Family Court News page by Ernest is a copy of minutes by Gerald Saflita, who was the gentleman who testified yesterday afternoon. And it's just strange to me that it was a case that didn't go terrific for Mr. Saflita, and that he uses that as that's like his photograph of his Facebook page, is this minutes or this summary of Saflita's hearing back in 2017. And it's just odd. And it was just strange to me that he would do that and continues to do that. To this day, he still got Saflita's minutes up there of this hearing. And I mean, for reasons unknown to him, but I don't know if he's trying to embarrass Gerald or what the situation is, but it's just strange. But down below there, he talks about he was there at the courthouse, and this is what I talked about, him being around the courthouse. He would go back and he would report on his Facebook page. And on this one particular occasion, he's talking about Mr. Doyle, who's here, and that he was in a hearing. And then just down that last paragraph there on that posting, Dad had his papers prepared by Kurt Harris, Office Equal Rights for Divorced Fathers, and was represented by Carrie Doyle. I'm just not sure how that's relevant to anything on earth, or how I would get drawn into this posting. Is it accurate? Is it true? Sure, I think it probably is. But I just don't know how, why that just was so continuous and why that was ongoing. And when we did the search, my name just keeps popping up. And he always is referring to me there that I've taken it over, it's a law office, not for profit, or for profit, or whatever the case might be. So I didn't know if it was meant to be negative towards me or not, because I find Mr. Doyle to be a very capable, competent attorney, and I think he did a great job. Always does.
Mr. Harris, this, you said that this was the cover page, these minutes, so, does that mean that every time you come to the page, they're just sitting right there at the top, you don't have to scroll to find them?
You're always gonna see that when you go to that family court news page, is Gerald Saflita's minutes. On page 2, there was a post there by Michael Franklin on Mr. Del Casal's, that I thought was notable.
Man, I am mad to see that.
The only point I'd like to make, if we could set a date, if possible, of this document of when these postings were made, it would help the case.
Other than the fact it says right on it, July 21st,
Does it say
9/24.
the year on there?
It's 7/31/2019, Family Court News is when it was copied over to the Family Court News
That may have
page.
been a printout of the page or the actual.
That's when it
post.
was actually put into Family Court News, when the actual document itself was done. Before that, as far as the year, you're correct, there's nothing on there that specifies the year. You know, it was before 7/31/19. Waiting for defense counsel, the defense counsel is dealing with Mr. Franklin.
I have no objection.
Okay. There being no objection, 02 is hereby admitted into evidence, 19-02.
And, Mr. Harris, you're talking about, defendant Mr. Franklin, posted on this page operated by, Mr. Del Casal, is that correct?
That is correct.
And,
Mr. Doyle.
what's Mr. Franklin, what stands out to you about Mr. Franklin's post, right?
Well, we'd already filed the lawsuit in September of 2018 because the website was still on the air when I filed it. I wouldn't have filed the lawsuit if it wasn't on the air. But he kind of took to the airwaves then to try and, I guess, plead his case in a public forum, and thinking that I was trying to attempt to silence his client. I discussed in my opening this phantom, that he talked about, this phantom client, who we won't identify. I wanted to take away their right to speak freely due to the fact that when people learn the truth, again, we're back to the truth about me, it's going to hurt my business. And so he goes on and on about this publication, that he's not afraid of me, and he's not afraid of the courts, and he's not going to be bullied, and he's not going to stay silent, or now he's not going to stay silent about unlawful business practices, of which I'm not aware. But he says that then there's many instances of attorneys and lawyers, I don't know if he's talking about me there or not, but they've gone too far, and he plans to see justice in this case.
Do you find it odd that Mr. Franklin is, I guess, for lack of a better term, white knighting for a client that he doesn't even claim to know?
It didn't make any sense to me at all. He doesn't even know the individual's name, and yet he's carrying on this campaign for this phantom, and he doesn't know me. He doesn't have the foggiest clue who I am. I've never even met the man. And so I have no idea what the motivation was here or what he was trying to propagate. But it was negative about me, and he goes on. I mean, he could not stop himself. He just continued to publish and publish and publish, even after he'd been sued. Nothing fazed him.
And again, he's posting on Mr. Del Casal's Facebook.
Yeah, and Defendant Del Casal essentially hosting this, and then there were some comments that he had made in reference to other comments. He's since deleted a lot of those posts. The next page I'd point you to is 19-003, which is really just another blow up of another post.
Hold on. First, 19-003, counsel for the defendant, any objections?
Yes, I could repeat that.
Same post that was on 19-002, it just happens to be
Well, it says
linked
seems
to
to
a
be-
photograph.
Duplicate of
It is duplicative.
objects.
Counsel, is there a reason why we're gonna go over duplicative email?
Well, I think, Your Honor, the difference is, on this one, there's a photograph with a,
Picture of the equal rights on the bottom.
right, and then a title.
Okay.
That's,
So all I'm saying is, are we gonna go over the duplicative
Oh,
email,
no,
the
I'm sorry,
actual
Your Honor.
text, which is duplicative, or do we want to just do the fact that it now has photographs of the place?
correct, and.
Okay? So 1903 is hereby admitted. Go ahead and publish to the jury.
And Mr. Harris has noted by the court that there's a, I guess, repost of the same kind of verbiage by Mr. Franklin, but was there something that stuck out to you?
Yeah, and actually, the judge kind of stated it better than I could myself. Yes, now it's kind of taken up a notch, it's gone up a notch, and now it's got a picture of the business there. And down below, he's now posted an article that says that I'm a Las Vegas attorney, that I'm seeking frivolous suits, which you can say about all attorneys essentially, I guess, if you want to, but, and trying to extort money. And that's the part that's really tough to take. When somebody's accusing you of extortion, it's a criminal offense. He should go to Metro if he thinks that I've committed some crime of extortion somewhere. It's pathetic. But you see that Ernest down there in the box, he's commented on it. Or one or more persons likes it. And so these are two guys that say, hey, we didn't do any of this together, we don't know anything, we don't know each other. And yet they're just constant in this ridiculous campaign against me for reasons known only to them.
May I ask counsel where it refers to extortion, this document?
Right at the very bottom it says, Las Vegas attorney seeks out frivolous lawsuits to extort money. Okay, counsel, continue.
Mr. Harris, is that, it's kind of hard to see on this copy, but the next page you can see a little bit more clear, but where was that article posted?
Well, see, Mike Franklin, he posted that all over the place. He started his own webpage and let everybody know, you can see it on my webpage or you can see it on my Facebook. He actually reposted some of this back on the original webpage. After we tried to sue, we filed the lawsuit for Mr. Del Casal, we were trying to serve him, it went off the air. Mr. Franklin put it back on the air later on, even with litigation pending, and he said, go to my website and you can see this here. And, essentially you see this article about him saying that, I'm trying to commit extortion. And I just want to say, I just don't take it lightly. Extortion it's pretty harsh. None of us would want that. And it is not true.
And it was posted on michaelfranklinjr.com.
Yes, it's also michaelfranklinjr.com, and he's got some NCNW or something other forum platform, and he's got several Facebook pages that he posted it on. And I think he posted something about me on some other Facebook page called Nevada Business List or Business Listing, that he wanted to make sure that he really got the word out on me.
And the next page.
And that next page, again, Carrie, that is a continuation of this article that was posted by Mr. Franklin. There's a true and correct copy of it. And down there you see some of the comments from the people. And there is I don't know, and this is a true and correct copy of that.
Is this a continuation of that other post where you can see where Mr. Del Casal has commented or liked the?
It is. And what I note there on 19004.
Hang on, let me, Your Honor, can we admit this page?
Defense counsel, defense looking at 19-004, any objections? Counsel, any objections to the document?
I have no objection, Gary.
19-004 is hereby admitted by stipulation.
Just a couple of things that I would love to point the jury's attention to with their patience. I appreciate that. There's a statement there right up top by Jane, who wants to know if he's turned me into the bar. I mean, extortion, certainly you would go to the bar with extortion. Who wouldn't? And of course, Michael Franklin, he responds to her, no, not yet, but he has been turned in before I hear. Now, how could Michael Franklin know I'd been turned into the bar? Those are highly confidential. Nobody knows that. You don't share that with anybody. And the bar does not say anything about somebody getting a complaint unless it goes on to the next level, where there's discipline that's been involved in it. Otherwise, these things are very, very highly confidential and kept strictly confidential. So Michael Franklin knows that a bar complaint has been entered against me in the past. He knows that because Mr. Del Casal has told him he filed a bar complaint against me. And these guys knew about that all along at the time of this posting. And it does go on further, like, turn him in anyway, she says, because this woman, I don't know her, but she's thinking, the guy's a crook, he's a criminal, do something about it. And I would invite him to do the same. He should have. He should have turned me into a police, the FBI, he should turn me into somebody. If he's got something, he should come forward, he should do that. But he'd just rather babble about it online and make false defamatory statements. Moving on down there, Ernest Del Casal, he comments that it's a very revealing case. And so he knows about it, he's aware of it. And then there was another post that he made, but he deleted it. So I don't know exactly what he said there. But he's deleting posts.
Mr. Harris, is there another page in this exhibit that stuck out to you?
I know that he's deleted other posts here, as you can see.
Mr. Harris, are we referring to a specific page on document number 19?
19010.
19-010. Okay. Counsel, go ahead and show defense counsel a copy of that. Any objection to this document 19-010?
Just relevant, John, doesn't seem to have any content.
I haven't figured that out, so what are we doing, counsel, here? What's this particular page that we're worried about? It's got basically some statements only that Mr. Del Casal shared a post. What is it about this page that's so relevant, Mr. Harris?
Your Honor, I believe that it just shows further interaction with the page and that things were removed after the lawsuit was initiated.
How does this page show that things were removed, Counselor?
Well, Your Honor, it shows that there was a post at one point and then the content is no longer.
Okay, so who removed it? Why did they remove it? What was underneath? Do you have the answer to any of those questions?
The witness may.
To check the speculation, some additional foundation.
Okay, I'll allow us to try to ask additional foundation, because that's your objection to speculation. Go ahead and try to lay additional foundation.
Mr. Harris, have you reviewed this page at some point in time, correct?
Yeah, and I had seen that page previously, and I had seen prior posts about me, which had been deleted.
So on this entry down here where it shows Mr. Del Casal's picture that he uses for his Facebook, dated July 5th at 2:01 p.m. It's your testimony that when you originally viewed this page, there was information on there about yourself.
To my knowledge, yes. But
Do you know?
Okay, Counselor, you're trying to show this for a negative. You're trying to show that this shows that something was omitted. Okay, he just testified that something was omitted, but he can't tell us what it was, what it said.
Can you further elaborate?
no, it's
Okay, I'll move on.
So move on. Not omitted.
Anything else in that exhibit? Okay, Your Honor. So we'll stick with those four.
Okay, let's forward it in a minute. Counsel, is this a good time? Are we in the middle of a different transition to a different section? I got some jurors that are wiggling in their chairs a
Yeah,
little
I know
bit.
it's getting late, Your Honor. Let me ask just, I guess,
Go ahead.
the
Ask a
final,
couple questions.
just the final question on this line of questioning. Mr. Harris, how did you feel about this narrative that was being posted online about you?
yeah, I didn't like it. And counsel, she said, I got my feelings hurt or whatever, and you know, you have to have thick skin to a certain degree. We all do. But yeah, it is hurtful. It didn't sound well to me. It was tough. And, you know, my son is reading it, and I shouldn't get overly, you know, emotional because of that, but it's a hard thing. It's hard to take, and you're just seeing it, and it's just constant, it's repetitive. And I've just always tried hard. I've tried hard to be fair with people. Man filed a bar complaint in 2016. I haven't had a bar complaint since. I've dealt with a lot of difficult cases in some tough situations. I've been able to avoid those kind of things and those pitfalls, and it's just tough to take. It's hard when you try to maintain your integrity and your reputation, and you're just getting beat down constantly. When she says it hurt my feelings, yeah, it hurt my feelings.
I think now's probably a
Good
good
time
time.
to stop. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stop for the evening. During this recess, you're admonished not to talk or converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to this trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report of, or commentary on the trial, or any person connected to this trial by any means of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, radio, or the internet, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected to this trial, until the case is finally submitted to you. You're not to do any experiments or investigation regarding matters raised in this trial, nor are you to post on any social media forums about the trial, or attempt to investigate anything you heard in this trial using any form of social media or the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see you tomorrow at 10:30. The court has a very busy calendar in the morning. We'll see you here at 10:30. All right, counsel, after your testimony is finished tomorrow, who else do you plan on calling?
We'll rest then, Judge.
Okay, perfect. So counsel will be ready to call your first witness as soon as they get done, or as soon as you guys get done with cross and redress. All right? See you guys here at 10:30 in the morning. Like I said, I have a full calendar tomorrow. You guys know me, I'll push as hard as I can. I'm gonna be here hopefully to start at 10:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.